Now, see, here, we told y'all what was going to happen. But a whole bunch of these Trump people effed around and found out. And now they're crying. Here's this white woman in North Carolina.
Yeah, we voted for Trump because he promised while he was campaigning like a million times that when he got into office, he was going to bring down prices, bring down grocery prices. The inflation has been high ever since COVID, and he promised he would bring that down. But it's obvious to me now that that was not true. Egg prices have skyrocketed. The bird flu is killing all the birds, and he doesn't seem to be doing anything about that. He's stopping disease communications from the disease centers in America, pulled us out of the WHO. Like, how does that help anything? And yeah, all he's been doing is taking away rights and freedoms, or trying to. He's not doing anything about the economy. So yeah, we totally regret our vote at this point. We've had a really tough time here in North Carolina. Half of my house got washed away in Hurricane Helene, and I applied for FEMA assistance and we got approved. But now Trump is canceling FEMA and emergency assistance to people. He's also canceled Medicaid for my children. I know they said they put a halt on his freezing of the funds, but the Medicaid portal is still not working, so we can't access anything for our children's health insurance.
Whatever. Panel, Michael Imhotep, hosts African History Network show out of Detroit. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi. Derek Jackson, Georgia State Representative out of Atlanta. Derek, your state went for Donald Trump, and I don't want to hear nothing. Again, for that woman right there, all I have for you is Scarface's No Tears.
Mr. Rowland, I don't think we can say we told you so. When you think about what he said while he was campaigning, he is fulfilling every promise, and that was outlined in Project 2025. We are not surprised. I just want to make 2 points, Roland, if I could. When you started off talking about the HBCU funding, and people don't understand, right? That B in there stands for black. We get that. But when you think about the number of folks that walk through the doors of HBCUs, and then Pell Grant funding, which will also be, they're aiming to remove Pell Grants. And so I had to do some math here and look at the data, because on the Roland Martin show, we talk about facts and figures and data. 72% Black students get Pell Grants. 51% Indian students get Pell Grants. 48% Hispanic students and Latino students get Pell Grants. 36% Asian students give Pell Grants. 34% white students give Pell Grants. And so while he's going after the HBCU, they're going to do this in the most clever way, because not all actions, Roland, as you well know, are done through legislative means. All he has to do as the president, call up the Speaker of the House and simply instruct the Speaker to say, remove all funding for Pell Grants. That doesn't require a legislative action. That doesn't require an executive order. That doesn't require a memo. All he has to do is call up the Speaker of the House and say, remove all Pell Grants funding. The second and my last point, Roland, if I could, when you think about this whole thing about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and as a retired military officer, and in the 18 months of my 22 years, I was an air traffic controller. And it frustrated the hell out of me when I watched this individual said what he stated. at the time he stated. Not only it was incredulous, not only it was disgusting and despicable. When you think about the rigorous process that air traffic controllers have to go through, I just want to let your audience know, air traffic controllers, it's only 73% that are white. Black air traffic controllers is 9%.
First of all, not only 73%. I mean, that's a huge number. But again, we understand what their game is. But here's the reality and we kept saying it over and over again, Michael. Go to my iPad. This is from CNN. Quote, "This is exactly the work we set out to do." Paul Dans, who oversaw Project 2025 at the Conservative Heritage Foundation, told CNN in an interview Wednesday, "It's still in the early first stages of bearing fruit, but we wanted to make sure the president was ready to hit the ground running on day one. The rapidity and the depth of what they rolled out this quickly is a testament to the work done in Project 2025 and other presidential transition projects." We warned people on this show.
Yeah.
I remember the reporter from Axios reported in the first year of the Biden administration, Republicans were planning this. In the first
Jonathan
year.
Swan.
That was, so for 3 years, and folk were just sitting here, for 4 years. Here you go. People, and then when I've never heard of it. I don't want to read it. I have no idea. They were lying. And these idiots in the media went, well, Trump says that's not his plan. He's got Agenda 47, which was the same thing. And so now these people realize what they're doing. And so they want the chaos, and you got it.
So you're talking about Jonathan Swan. That was July 2022, Axios.com. And that was when I first found out about the plan for Schedule F employees to reclassify at least about 50,000 employees as Schedule F, fire them and replace them with Trump loyalists. And it's important for people to understand Donald Trump in 2020 signed an executive order to reclassify some federal employees as Schedule F, but he did not have the database at the time to replace them. President Joe Biden, when he became president in 2021, he rescinded that executive order. Trump has put it back in place now, and they have the database. They have the litmus test. They've been planning 3.5 years. And it's important for people to understand. We've talked about this before on the show, Roland. I've been on virtual town halls, and there was a town hall meeting that the AKA grad chapter, Alpha Kappa Alpha grad chapter, organized here in Detroit, warning the Black community about Project 2025. The full name of it is Mandate for Leadership: The Conservative Promise, Project 2025. From the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation has been putting out their policy playbook called Mandate for Leadership, the Conservative Promise, each election cycle going back to 1981 under the Reagan administration. They've been doing this over 40 years. And when you research this, in Reagan's first term, they got 60% of their policy recommendations put in place in Reagan's first term. In the first year of the first Trump administration in 2017, they got 64% of about 334 policy recommendations put in place. One of those was withdrawn from the Paris Climate Accord. One of the things that they want to do is to repeal the Affordable Health Care Act, Obamacare. We know Trump tried through Republicans in the legislative branch of government tried to do that at least 60 times. So this is real. Okay, we warn people. And you don't put a plan, a 922-page plan, you don't sit and write it if you don't plan to implement it.
Yep.
140 people from the first Trump administration were involved in writing it, and now he's nominated people like Russell Vought, who's known as the architect of Project 2020.
So here's the thing here's the thing here, Matt, that people need to understand. It's going to impact a lot of Black people. They don't care. You talk about programs, about cutting off checks, you name it. And so they want this chaos. And again, for the people, for the Black people who are out there, a lot of these YouTube folks who are running their mouths, okay, yeah, that's what y'all want? You got it for 4 years. Go ahead, Matt.
The cruelty is the point. The cruelty is the point. It's not a byproduct. It is the express what they're seeking, the express consequence of these policies. And on top of that, this is so disingenuous to me. I absolutely abhor this kind of thing, right? At least be honest and say, we knew he was a known quantity. We voted for him as a known quantity. We, suspected we weren't going to get 100% of what we wanted, but we voted for him and we knew this was coming down the pike. This smells like people are trying to not clout chase, but trying to get, their neighbors to say, hey, I'm actually a good person. Forgive me. I thought he was going to do this one thing I voted on. And look, here's the thing. We know people aren't single issue voters. Trump has a policy, or at least has a position on most things that are going to affect people's lives. Right. So if you vote for him, you know what he's going to do. This is dishonest to me. And this is people, I think, just not owning up to the fact that they either voted along the whiteness lines or they voted along some other lines from this candidate who was talking about the things he said he was going to do from day one. What did he say, tongue in cheek, months ago? Day one, I will be a dictator. And what are we seeing? Dictatorial actions. We are literally seeing the rounding up of immigrants in our country. We're seeing the fomenting of, us versus them, even more so than it was in his prior term. And what you're seeing is they are continuing to push the bounds of constitutionality. I mean, when you have a federal judge saying this is blatantly unconstitutional, right, and asking an assistant U.S. attorney if he stands by the argument that this is truly a constitutional position and he has to hem and haw because it's ideological and not, moral or legally based in any kind of merit, that we are in bizarro world, and anybody who voted for Donald Trump voted with this intent to happen, not because they thought it wasn't going to happen, but instead they knew it would and voted in spite of that. So I think this is disingenuous. And when I see people who I know voted for Trump saying this kind of thing, I'm like, keep it, because we know it isn't honest and we know it's not true.
Well, folks need to recognize this was going on, and you talk about cruelty is the point. That's exactly what it is.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. And right now we're accepting investors in our $17 million round to revolutionize the future of social media. Today, for just $399, you can own 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $6.65 a share. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. While the big platforms have grown too massive and disconnected from their users, Fanbase is building a platform where creators and users truly come first. We've already raised $4.8 million from everyday investors who believe in this vision, and now you can join them. This is your chance to invest in a social media tech company with over 1 million users that is disrupting media by allowing anyone to reach all of their following and monetize their content from day one. The market is changing, big platforms are failing to serve their users, and Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now. Invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the future of social media.